Looks like it's streaming now.
Yeah, you're live.
Still takes another 30 seconds. Yeah.
And we have some participants that are joining already.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for
Welcome.
joining.
Come in.
Make yourself at home.
Yep. We're going to give it another couple minutes for people to join.
Oh, we've got another one who has joined now. Oh, they're climbing now. Fantastic.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Just let me know when you see the numbers kind of slowing down, because I have my full screen on.
Okay.
Perfect. Maybe 1 or 2 more minutes.
How's the weather in Ontario?
Sunny this morning.
It's gloomy right now.
Kind of gloomy right now, yeah.
Yeah, well, it can't be as gloomy as it is here in Greater Vancouver, where it's raining buckets.
Yeah, it's just been cold the past few days.
Yeah.
I think it's around single digits now.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are we doing with numbers?
It's slowed down now, Natalia. It might be a good time to get started.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Natalia Markman. I'm one of the 3 career services advisors with Toronto Film School, Yorkville University. And I would like to welcome everyone who joined us today for our webinar about finding work by building professional relationships. Last time we did this webinar, it was pretty popular, so we decided to repeat this webinar again this fall. And 3 other webinars about resumes, interviews, and how to find work in your field. So after this webinar, we're actually going to have 2 more in the upcoming weeks. So keep your eyes open for those. And before I start the webinar, I would like to read land acknowledgement for downtown Toronto Film School campus. We acknowledge the land Toronto Film School operates on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their culture. Thank you for listening to that. And before I dive into the topic, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself, my colleagues as well who joined me today for the webinar, Alexi Varakan and Linda Folster. They're gonna mute themselves and turn off their cameras soon and leave me alone here. Just a little bit about my experience so you know who you're talking to, who you see on the screen. So I'm an employment counselor with over 5 years of experience working primarily in the nonprofit sector and supporting job seekers. Prior to Toronto Film School, I was working as a program facilitator for youth pre-employment programs at Tropicana Community Services. And my very first job was supporting newcomers to Canada at JVS Toronto, which is another big organization. And I always try to provide outcome-focused counseling to my clients and helping them to realize their potential, realize their strengths, and overcome barriers when it comes to job searching and employment so they can secure meaningful careers. I have Master's in Immigration and Settlement Studies from Ryerson University, and I joined Toronto Film School almost a year ago. And since then, I was helping students from all programs at Toronto Film School to build their resumes, build their cover letters, prepare for their interviews, prepare for their job searching, and many other services that we provide in our department. So if you're looking for any supports in that matter, please don't hesitate to contact us. At the end of this workshop, you are going to have our contact information as well. So make sure you write it down. So probably most of you know that looking for a job, especially your very first job, when you don't have a lot of experience, or you're a newcomer to Canada, or maybe you're a career changer who was in the field for quite a long time, and then you decided, I don't like it anymore, I want to switch to another field. Looking for a job in that situation might be quite challenging and even frustrating, because people keep applying online, and this is one of the main methods that I hear all the time from all of my clients and students who reach out to me. Learning about other ways how to look for a job is very important, especially with this whole pandemic situation that hit us 2 years ago and changed the job market probably forever, or at least for quite a long time ahead of us. But despite that, people were still finding work even when unemployment numbers were high. I know lots of people, my friends, colleagues, who actually changed jobs, found new opportunities during pandemic. Our team is the best example of it. Myself and Linda and Alexi, we all found jobs during lockdown. So our team is definitely great representation of the fact that even with lockdowns, even with pandemic, you can still find work or even change jobs, not particularly sticking to the one that you had before. But it definitely adds a certain another level of stress when you're looking for work. So knowing different strategies, not sticking to just one strategy, I'm just applying online. Knowing additional strategies is very important to maximize your chances of getting meaningful employment. And I actually wanted to share good news with you in this workshop. I recently came across Statistics Canada report, very recent, so beginning of October or end of September, that stated that our economy is back to the pre-pandemic unemployment rate. So it is improving. So we're back to 6.9 unemployment rate, which is the lowest rate since February 2020 when the lockdown hit us. I'm not saying that this unemployment rate is good, absolutely not. We still have a lot of work to do to eliminate this unemployment rate, but at least we got back to where we started before the pandemic, which is great. One of the interesting facts that majority of jobs that were regained in this 2 years are full-time positions. So we're still kind of struggling with the part-time type of work. So if you want to know more, there's a link on the screen, or you can just type in Google, Statistics Canada report on unemployment rates in Canada. So that's very new information. I really wanted to share this with everyone as the good news. So we're improving. So before I dive into our topic of networking, which is another strategy of looking for a job, and that's the main topic we're going to be talking about, building connections. I wanted to know, how are you looking for a job usually? We are using a website that's called menti.com. My colleague is going to drop the link to this website in the chat. You can use your phone, you can use any other device that you have with you. And once you go on www.menti.com, use the code 29145798. My colleague is also going to put it in the chat. And you're going to see a question on the screen. It's anonymous, as you can see. So your name is not going to pop up on the screen for any of the questions that I'm going to be asking during this workshop. So once you see the question, please respond, because I want to know how people are looking for jobs nowadays. Let's give it a minute for everyone to join Menti. You can see one person is looking online. Please respond through Menti, not in the chat. So you're just using the online job searching. Interesting. Anybody else? Maybe some of you got referral from your family member for any jobs in the past. Maybe applied for LinkedIn. So majority are looking online. Just like I said, every time I see a student, I ask them, how are you looking for a job? What is not working? Because usually people reach out to different services once they hit the wall and they're like, I'm not sure what am I supposed to do. I don't know what's not working. I'm sending in all these applications and it doesn't work for me. Nobody's responding. What's going on? And that's when they come to career services and start asking me questions about, maybe I should improve something on my resume. Maybe I should change something about my job search. I'm glad to see that some people are using social media, which is LinkedIn and Facebook. That's amazing, especially for creative industries. Facebook and Instagram, Twitter can be a really great source of jobs. But as I see, majority are still looking for a job online. Well, 3 people are now for LinkedIn. Okay, so no referrals from family and friends, no job fairs. Well, no wonder, since we were in the pandemic for 2 years, there were really no job fairs aside from virtual. Nobody setting up informational interviews, no networking. So I'm assuming social media, LinkedIn means that you just saw a job posting on LinkedIn and you applied for it. Okay, so we have 8 people who responded to that question. Interesting to see that result. Let's continue. Sorry. Oh, we actually had somebody else responded on my job searching. Okay, good. So what we're going to be talking about today is basically how to build your network, how to build your connections in the industry where you're planning to go into. It was interesting to see that still many people are focusing on online job searching. If they're using LinkedIn, they're using it as a job board as well, because nobody said networking, nobody said informational interviews, nobody said referrals. So I'm assuming as just using the job board as as another Indeed version of job searching. So this topic is definitely important because it's going to add to your job search strategies, and that's the reason why we're talking about it today. So our agenda for today, I'm going to introduce you to the topic. You're going to learn why networking is important, why building connections is important for your successful job search, why it maximizes your chances to get a job. We're going to talk about informational interviews. So what is an informational interview, how to reach out to people, how to book those interviews, what kind of questions you can ask people during those informational interviews, how to create cold calls. So how to reach out to total strangers that you never met before, but maybe those are the people in your industry that you really want to connect to. So if you reach out to them, how do you introduce yourself? How do you make the ask? So how do you make this connection that can potentially lead you to a job opportunity? Because if you're reaching out to someone, you need to have a meaningful conversation with them, ask particular questions that are related to your industry. So you're going to learn about that as well in the webinar. And last but not least, we're going to learn about top trending skills, because in the last 2 years, especially with the pandemic, there are a lot of new skills or skills that were not as important before and emerged during the pandemic, and are still very relevant and very desired by employers. And they want to see it on your resumes. They want to see it in your LinkedIn. They want to see it in your actions when you're reaching out to them. And they will be asking those questions during an interview as well. How did you adapt, right? How did you adapt to the pandemic situation? Were you working from home? What was your strategy to working in this very different environment? So a lot of skills that we're going to be talking about are very trendy right now, and I think it's very important as well to know. Is anybody familiar with the term hidden job market? Have you ever heard that term? Yes or no? Very simple question. So I see people figured out Menti, that's good. This majority doesn't know. Some people heard about it, that's good. Awesome. Okay, thank you for those who responded. You can still send in your responses while I'm talking. So hidden job market is a term that explains the phenomenon of the non-traditional market. So we have traditional job market where you just go online, or back in the days, it was like a newspaper or like a journal, and you see the jobs posted there. You just call in, or you send in your application, you email your application, and you just wait for the result. That's the traditional market, visible market. The hidden job market is invisible jobs, or invisible jobs that are available on the job market that you can't really see it, online or anywhere. Maybe this is a job that wasn't even created yet, but they're kind of looking for a person who might fill in for that potential position. So hidden job market is basically jobs that were never advertised, and people who are hiring for those jobs are looking for someone from within the company, or they ask for referrals, and they didn't post this job anywhere yet. So it's quite new statistics that you can see on the screen. You can see a pie chart that kind of gives you the breakdown how the jobs are getting filled right now. And as you can see, about 35% of jobs get filled via online sources. So only 35% of jobs that are available in the market, you can actually go online and see it posted. 65% of jobs are getting filled via relationships. So you know someone recommended you, you did your placement for school, and your supervisor recommended you somewhere, referred you. You referred your family member, your friend, maybe you're working somewhere and you got a promotion. That's another way of filling in this position. So that's the internal, so hidden market jobs that you can't really reach if you're just sitting on your computer and just applying online. And just so you know, I think it's also important to share that employers usually spend 5 to 7 seconds reviewing your resume the first time they look at it. So let's say you're one of the 50 candidates who applied for that job, and let's say you send in your resume. There are 10 other really good resumes that employers are looking at, and they're deciding who they want to call for an interview just based on this piece of paper with some very limited information about you. There's no face to this paper, so they don't have this human element attached to the resume. And it's always very subjective, whatever on the paper, I'm going to call this person for an interview and we'll see. If it's a referral, if employer is, asking his colleagues for a referral, and person brings someone, there's already this connection. There's always already this kind of trust. And once they go to an interview, there's already a different environment at this interview, because this person was brought by someone. So there's already this connection that formed even before they went for an interview. So if you have two candidates, and let's say you're the businessman, you have your own company, and your colleague brings someone, and then you call somebody else from the online application, you're probably gonna have more trust in that person who was recommended for the job, because your employee is telling you, I trust that person. I saw how their work ethic is. They're amazing worker. They're doing the job. They're doing task. So I really recommend you to call them for an interview and see it for yourself. And there's this total stranger who just applied with his resume, and you don't really know their personality. They will show their best, obviously, at the interview, but from the start, there's already some level of trust for the referral. So that's why 65% of jobs are getting filled through relationships, because there's some level of trust attached to it. So we always share this pyramid picture with all of our workshops, almost, just to kind of give you an idea of how employers and job seekers are looking for each other and how they never meet in this vicious cycle. Because if you look at the chart, the bottom part is basically all related to networking, building connections. So people who recommend each other, internal promotion, contacts from existing staff, networking, word of mouth. And the top part are all job boards, recruitment agencies. So everything that you see online, basically, and can easily reach and submit your resumes. So when employers are looking for job seekers, so when they look to fill in the position, they always start from the bottom. So they always start from asking within their company, do you know anybody who might be a good fit for that position? Please let me know. We need someone to start as soon as possible. Can you please recommend someone? When people are looking for jobs, they start from the top. So our first thing that we do, I need to look for a job. They go online, type in the position name, and start looking for a job online. When that doesn't work, they start to dig through their connection. They start to ask their family members, friends, etc. So the funny thing about it, we just never meet in this cycle. So the proper thing to do is to start from networking, to start from your connections before you go to the online job boards. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be applying online. Absolutely not. You still have to be applying online, but you have to allocate your time smart for online job applications, but also reaching out to people in the industry and make those connections. And especially if you just started your program recently, start building your network now, because by the end of the program, you're already going to have a network of people in the industry that you're connected to and can reach out. So you're basically planting the seeds for your future job searching. Okay, so it's very important to understand, where those jobs are hiding, and starting as early as possible. So I would like to share some stats from two Forbes articles that we found. 5 worst ways to looking for a job. We talked about online job searching. So there's no immediate result. You just send your application, and there's radio silence, maybe for a few weeks, maybe forever. Maybe you're never going to hear about them, from this employer. Posting resume and job board, it's a very passive technique. I know in some other countries it's very popular just to post your resume and wait for people to reach out to you. But because we have a very competitive market, it's definitely not really effective being so passive about it, just waiting for results. You need to be very proactive about your job search. Same with newspaper ads, trade journal ads. Majority of newspaper ads you're going to see are for survival jobs, and people are not really reading newspapers anymore, and would probably turn to online job boards like Indeed or Candid job board or something like that. Private employment agencies and recruitment agencies, yes, they do help a little bit, but you need to remember that they work for the employer. So, you know, they're not really helping you, they're helping the employer to find the proper candidate, and they might be interviewing many people. So it's the same thing as you would be applying with online with your resume. What are some good ways to find work? Especially during the situation with the pandemic, I think all these strategies are still very, you know, very good for job searching because, you know, situation changed in the market. So using those strategies will definitely maximize your chances. Research employers and industries. So let's say you're an accountant, for example. There are accountants in IT industry, there are accountants in you know, education, there are accountants in construction industry. So basically in every industry there is an accountant who needs to do all the work in terms of numbers and, you know, taxes and all that. So don't just focus on one industry. Look at your position, look at your transferable skills and see what are some industries that are actively hiring right now, and try to apply to different industries to kind of maximizing your chances, opening up your options. Because if you're you know, you're not limited by one industry, basically, that's what I'm saying. Conduct informational interviews. We're going to talk about that more towards the middle of our presentation. Add remote friendly words to your written materials. So remember, I started talking a little bit about you know, pandemic skills. So many of us are still working remotely and will be for a very long time. I know that many companies actually restructured, changed their way of working, and completely put their employees, you know, working from home. And for some people, that's going to be the reality for many years to come. So you have to make sure that your resume and your cover letter and your LinkedIn and any other application, you know, any other documents within your application demonstrate those remote work skills that we all developed. For example, one of those skills for me was running webinars. Before the pandemic, I was doing all my workshops in the classroom full of people in front of them. So using the projector, using the computer, talking to them, all my activities were in the classroom environment. So I had to switch it around completely and learn how to run webinars. I never did that before 2 years ago. So we had to learn new ways how to adjust to that situation. So that's what I mean by remote friendly words. So all these skills that help you to still do your work in the remote environment. What else can you do to find work? Monitor social media for prospective jobs. I saw that some of you are actually using LinkedIn and Facebook and other social media to look for a job. That's amazing. Continue doing that. Like I said, especially for creative industries, there are a lot of you know, connections that you can make, and those people might be posting jobs. So try to use it. And I think what's most important with your job search is create job hunting systems and goals. I think it's a really good advice from the article and the one that I was using as well all my life with my job search. It helps you to create a system, and you feel more proactive. You feel more, you know, that you're accomplishing something. So you have a goal. Every day I'm going to apply for this many jobs, and every day I'm going to reach out to this many people. So don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Try to allocate your time and make sure that you have a little bit of time for online applications and a little bit of time for other ways to finding work. Whatever you see on the screen, these are some great pieces of advice on your job search. So how does networking happen? I know many people are very scared of this word because it means that they have to come out of their comfort zone and meet others, maybe somebody that they never met before, total strangers, and lead some type of conversation with them, and people are not really sure where to start with that. But in fact, it's happening on day-to-day activities. You're sitting in class, you're interacting with your professor, you're interacting with your peers. Maybe there's a guest speaker who comes to your classroom and does a workshop. All of this is also considered networking. Maybe you went to a networking event, or you connected with somebody through LinkedIn, or you were volunteering with an organization and you met people there. Try to always make those connections and continue kind of talking to these people, because you never know when this opportunity might come up, right? Recently, I reached out to somebody on LinkedIn who connected with me some time ago, because I had an opportunity, to offer, and we were looking internally, and we just reached out, and because this person was my LinkedIn connection and her LinkedIn account looked really good, I thought, why not? Let me reach out and see if this person is interested. That's a great example of how you can connect to people. But obviously, you need to start a conversation. You can't just send a LinkedIn connection and hope for them to offer you jobs on the spot. So I'm also going to share some tricks about LinkedIn throughout this presentation. How else you can find networking? Social media, friends and family. Friends and family are always great resource of jobs, especially if any of your relatives are working within the same industry. For example, you can always reach out to them to kind of give you some pointers, or maybe make a recommendation. Former colleagues, never burn bridges when you leave a job. That's my piece of advice to you, because maybe your colleague is going to go work somewhere else, and you can reach out to them because you see they change jobs on LinkedIn, and you can start that conversation and kind of see where they're working and if there are any opportunities available there. So always, try to keep your connections and never burn bridges if you change jobs. There's also this theory of 6 degrees of separation. Probably many of you heard about it. It's basically a theory that between every person, there's only 6 degrees of separation, so 6 different people, or 5 handshakes. There's different ways of calling this theory. And it's actually quite true. We're doing an experiment with my friends recently, and I started thinking if I'm connected to any big names. And I actually have a friend who has another friend, and they're family friends with Malkin, who is a huge NHL player. He's NHL player for Pittsburgh, right? So if I really wanted, I would be able to get tickets to their game, for example. Sorry, Toronto Maple Leaf fans. But it's just an example that shows that, between people, there's not too many connections that connect you to each other. And it's easy to see for LinkedIn. If you have your LinkedIn page and you start connecting with people, when you start reaching out to different people in the industry, you're going to see that it shows you the level of connection. So it might tell you have one level of connection. So between you and this other person, there's only one person who's connected to both of you. Or maybe there's two degrees of separation. So someone who knows that person. So LinkedIn is great, to see that kind of theory in action. So check your LinkedIn connections, see who you're connected with within your industry, if you're using it. And if not, start actively using it. It's a great networking tool. Some positive aspects. The most important part of it, it's efficient. So if you reach out to someone, it's not like a job interview where it's very, official. It's more like a social connection. And there's a human element to it. So you're not anymore just a blank piece of paper, just a blank, resume with some text on it. There's a human element to you. And when you reach out to someone via email or phone call, or meet someone at a networking event or a conference, or maybe a training. So there's always this human connection that starts right away. It's a reciprocal relationship. So you can always, ask them, how can I help you? Maybe you have like a project that you run that I can help you with. And, if you help them, they would feel the need to help you as well in return. When you meet people in your industry and you try to interact with them, it's also reality based. So they're going to tell you day-to-day activities they do at work, how the real day, the reality of the work day-to-day looks like for them. What can you expect if you find a job in the same industry? So you're not just relying on something that you heard, or read on the internet, or read in your textbook. You actually have a really, reality check. And you can think about, am I going to be a good fit for that position? Or based on the information that I receive from that person who already works in the industry, maybe I need to look somewhere else where I'm going to be a better fit. So you get reality-based research out of it. It might generate leads and jobs, just like I said, because of the human element, because they already start thinking, is this person going to be a good fit for my team, or maybe for my friend's team? So you're planting seeds to potential job opportunities. It's efficient in terms of the fact that it's fast. So if you reach out to someone and they have time to talk to you, they will talk to you. If they don't have time to talk to you, they're just going to say, no, I'm sorry, maybe refer you somewhere else. So you're not just waiting, like with this application that you just sent out in the internet and just waiting to hear back. You're going to have results just here and now. Where do you find those connections, right? Because many of you are like, okay, where am I supposed to look for those things? So there's a lot of networking opportunities around you. Is just knowing where to look for it. Professional associations. Many of you can join professional associations within your field. Have a professional membership, for example. They usually have newsletters where they advertise like different industry events, networking events, where you can go and meet people in the industry. Social media groups, so groups within your field of study, groups within your professional field. You can always join those for LinkedIn or any other social media and kind of see the news, see the job postings, see events, meet people, mingle with them. It's also a great source. Eventbrite, many of you maybe heard about this website. It's a website that where you can find a lot of different events happening in the city, including networking, professional networking. How do you identify contacts in other ways? LinkedIn, social media. We talked about it, friends and family, potential referrals from people you know, company websites. Don't just rely on the job search engines. Go on company website and see who's working there. Maybe you can find them on LinkedIn and try to connect with them and have a conversation. There's another really cool tool. It's called hunterio. I'm going to show you that in the next slide. So it's basically a very interesting tool that helps you to find people that you want to interact with. So for example, you're very interested in working for Amazon, for example. So you find their domain name. So that's probably going to be amazon.ca or something. And you type in the domain name and to find email addresses of people who work there. And if you know the last and first name of the person that you would like to find, you're probably going to see them in the list of company emails. And you'll be able to send them an email, which makes it more personalized than just a LinkedIn message or anything else. Because you're going to send a personalized email, you're going to connect with them on a more personal level, maybe set up an informational interview, meet with them over coffee or over Zoom and have a conversation. So if I would receive a personalized email that asks me for that conversation, I'll probably say yes, because I can see that the person did this extra step, extra effort to find me because they liked what I do. They like the work that that I did in the past. So they really want to discuss my experience. That's a really cool tool, hunterio. So write it down if you have a chance. So how do we connect? There's different ways how we connect with people. We can either email them or call them, send them a LinkedIn message or a message in any other social media. but it's not just the connection, it's how we connect with them. What do we write in our email? What do we say in this phone call? And that's what I wanted to cover right now. So you have to make sure that it's catchy. So you have some type of a hook in your email or a phone call or a LinkedIn message. You do the ask. So you're asking them for something. You have to tell them what's your goal. So why are you reaching out to them? And you have to make sure that you always follow up. Having a simple subject line, so not having like 2 sentences subject line, makes it also easier for them because they know right away who this email is coming from, and you know, they can guess what the topic is all about, because people are busy. We get a lot of emails, and you know, you want to make sure that the person understands right away what exactly you want from them. So my colleague Linda actually gave us an amazing template of an email that we use for that presentation, and it's a real email that she sent to someone, and it goes like that. It's hi Roberta, it's nice to meet you. I'm currently exploring opportunities for growth as a career practitioner, and was recently speaking with Deidre Pickerel about her experience. She suggested that I reach out to you to learn more. I looked you up on LinkedIn, and I can see why Deidre recommended you. Your background is impressive, and I would love to hear more about your career trajectory so that I can learn from you about paths that are possible in our field. So there's a hook. She's complimenting the person. She tells her that she admires her experience. She wants to hear more about it. I'd really appreciate the chance to meet with you over Zoom or via phone sometime in the next 2 weeks or whenever works for you. So you ask for this phone call, you ask for this meeting, ask for this coffee chat. Could you please let me know if you prefer a phone call or a video meeting, and give me a few options for meeting times. Once I hear back from you, I'll follow up with an invitation. So you assure them that you're going to follow up, and that makes them want to respond to you right away, because you're kind of giving them this you know, time frame basically. And that's the very simple way of you know, writing the email or the LinkedIn message, you know, having this hook complimenting the person, because you don't want to jump at them being like, hey, I'm looking for a job, because obviously you are looking for a job, but you're not putting it in an aggressive way that person feels obligated that they have to, you know, come into this meeting with a job posting for you, or, you know, an interview date. They treat it as a conversation, so they're more, you know, they're more willing to talk to you because you kind of complimented them, and you want to hear more about their experience. And people like to talk about themselves. Same with phone conversation. So when you use a phone and you call a person that you never met before, it's called cold calling. So you're trying to call somebody and see if something is going to work out. Maybe you're going to be able to meet. And always try to have like a script, so it's easier for you in the beginning to navigate this conversation, because it might be a little bit nerve-wracking because you don't know this person, and you're calling them. So make sure that you practice to make it sound natural, to make it sound warm. Make sure your environment around you is quiet, so you don't have family members running around or TV playing, and have your materials ready. So always make sure that you have pen and paper to write down. Maybe you printed out their, you know, information from their LinkedIn profile, so you kind of know on what level to connect with them. Maybe mention something from their experience in the conversation as well. And the phone call script that you see on the screen actually brought my colleague a volunteer opportunity, a part-time job, and then a full-time job that she secured with that particular company. And all of that started with just one phone call to a person that she never met before, right? And it's amazing how far it can take you going out of your comfort zone, because, you know, everyone applies online, and if you're doing this extra step, person sees your effort, and they see something unique about you, because you're showing that you're standing out from the crowd, you're taking some extra steps, so you're different from everybody else who applies. If you need any of those templates, by the way, you can reach out to us, because we have some resources to share and help you to, write those scripts for cold calling, or have templates for emails or LinkedIn messages. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us for that as well, because it might be a little bit stressful in the beginning. So why people so afraid of the word cold calling? Because we fear of rejection, right? We fear that a person is going to be rude to us. They're going to say, no, I don't have time. But you are in a professional environment, and if you're being very polite, and if you're framing your ask in a proper way, so you're not like pushing them, to give you a job, you're just asking them for their expertise. They're not going to be rude to you. And the worst thing that can happen, they might say, I'm so sorry, I don't have time. Can I refer you to my colleague? Maybe she's going to be able to meet with you. So we all feel this rejection or failure. But in fact, what's the worst thing that can happen? They're going to say no. But the best thing that can happen, just like with my colleague, you might get a job out of it. So it's totally worth it. And why you need to start implementing the strategy as well with your job search, because you're showcasing your pandemic skills. So what I keep talking to you about, showing your adaptability, showing your flexibility, how you use other methods, non-traditional methods of looking for a job. And again, it's efficient. So you get a yes or a no on the spot, basically. So that's why cold calling is definitely a great tool to use, a great strategy to use with your job searching. And in the beginning, it might be a bit nerve-wracking, but you're going to get used to it once you practice more. I actually had a student recently, her stories on Toronto Film School website. She found, she got 4 offers on a table, and she was an international student. So it was supposed to be an employer that would help her with her documents as well, with her immigration documents. And she got 4 offers because she was networking so much. She was reaching out to CEOs of companies. She was booking informational interviews with them. She was presenting her portfolio to them without having like an actual job to apply to. And that's how she got 4 offers, which is amazing. And now she's working full time in Montreal. You can actually read her story on our website, Toronto Film School. So another way, we talked about going to networking events, maybe trainings or conferences. And if you meet someone that you really want to interact with and kind of keep this connection going, it's a great strategy to have an elevator pitch, which is basically a 15-30 seconds speech about you. So who you are, what you do, why you're so unique, and what are your goals. So obviously in the beginning, again, it's going to sound like a script, but once you use it a little bit more, it's just going to be stuck in your head, and just have those couple of points that you want to mention when you meet someone new in your industry, and it's just going to be more natural once you practice more. And if you are working somewhere and you're looking for promotion, or you're looking to change jobs, or maybe you're a student who starts to go into all these networking events and meeting people, you have to provide a little bit more information than just telling your name, right? Because you can tell which program you graduated from, what kind of jobs you're looking for, what kind of skills you have, and you can bring to the table. And all of that you need to kind of pack into about 15 minutes speech. That's why it's called elevator pitch, because you should be able to give your speech while you're taking the elevator to the next floor. One more thing I wanted to mention, LinkedIn messages, because LinkedIn boomed, especially during pandemic. People use it a lot right now, and it's a great social media for professional purposes. And I wanted to do a little exercise just to check if you were listening to everything I was saying. So recently I got two messages from two ladies who were looking for work, I'm assuming. And it was very different messages. And I actually met with one of those ladies, and I didn't meet the other one. So I want you to guess which one was it. So first message goes like that. Hi, Natalia, my name is Sarah, and I'm from London, Ontario. I'm currently looking at youth employment organizations in Toronto as I want to be a youth career practitioner there. I came across your LinkedIn profile when I was looking for current opportunities at Tropicana. Do you have any jobs available at Tropicana right now? So that's the first message that I received. Second message goes like that. Good evening, Natalia. As a recent university graduate, I'm excited to develop my skill set within employment counseling. After reading your profile, I would love the opportunity to connect with you over coffee to learn more about your approach to employment counseling. I'm moving to Toronto in the near future, and I was looking for some advice about this industry in Toronto. I look forward to speaking with you, Katie. So which one did I meet? First one or the second one? Ta-da! Correct. Yes, absolutely correct. I met with the second person because, as you can guess, she wasn't asking for the job directly. She looked at my profile. She liked my experience. She wanted to know more. We ended up having a 2-hour chat at Starbucks. I actually asked her to show her resume, give her her resume to me so I can bring it to my manager. And we're still connected. Recently, I was also reaching out to her for another opportunity, you know, and I see that she has a really successful career, which is amazing. And it all started with this one informational interview that you know, she asked me for. I gave her some pointers on her resume as well. She was asking me amazing questions about working in the employment sector, and we had a great conversation and a very long you know, connection as well that's still going on. So it was definitely worth it. So I keep talking informational interview. What is it in a nutshell? It's a meeting that you arrange and lead. So when you reach out to the people using any of the methods that I presented to you before, you arrange this meeting. So you're not being called for an interview, you're the one in control. It's an opportunity to get insight from expert who's already works in the field, so you can learn something from them. It's a chance to learn about your fit into this industry, into this company, into this role, from somebody who is doing this very similar work. It's not a job interview, so it's more relaxed. There's more, you know, social aspect to it, and it's a chance to add to your network. So I want to turn this to you and ask, what are some questions you might want to ask during an informational interview? So if you think about it, you reached out to someone who works in your industry and you really admire the work they do, and you really want to ask them some questions. What would you ask? How did you get started in this field? Amazing question. What else? What are the current trends in the industry? What skills are you most looking for at this time? What do you like best about your job? That's a good question as well. What do you look for in a candidate? If it's someone who's responsible for hiring, that's a really good question to ask for future. So you can adjust your resume, adjust your cover letter. Anything else? How can I stand out in this environment? Cool. What are some qualities that are needed to succeed in this job? What are some possible career paths in this field? That's amazing questions. And if you look at it, you can start asking those questions now, even before you graduated from your program. And it's better to ask this now so you're prepared for once you graduate. Can you recommend anyone else I should talk to? Amazing. That's a really good example of making connections. So you're talking to one person and you're also asking them for recommendations. Good one. Is there anyone you would recommend I contact? Yeah, perfect. Great examples. So you did all the work for me. You just gave all the questions. Are you happy with the job? That's a really interesting question. Good. Okay, so thank you so much for all these responses. It's amazing. So how do we conduct it? So once you end up with this interview, either over Zoom or maybe face-to-face coffee chat, make sure you prepare your questions, like the ones that you just shared on the screen. Study the labor market, know the trends as well yourself. So do a little bit of research, check their profile, make sure you know their work history as well, so you have something to to talk about. Share some information about a recent conference you attended or a workshop that you listened to. So there's something that you can share with the person and ask for their opinion as well on the topic. Learn who are the industry leaders as well in your field. Make sure that you're prepared. So make sure like you have your resume with you. Don't put it on the table unless they ask you to do it. But if they ask you to send over the resume, do that. Just don't be, don't give it yourself, only if they ask you. Bring a notepad and pen to write down their responses. That was actually something that this lady that I met, she also did it, and it looked very impressive. And I was like, I'm really impressed with how prepared you are with all the questions. Do you want to send me your resume? If you have a chance to order your own business cards and it's a personal meeting, feel free to give it to them. Or maybe, let's say, if you're in a creative industry, let's say you're a graphic designer, right? You can always leave them with some little package of some samples of the work that you have done, for example. That's always great if you're in a creative industry. So I wanted to finish this workshop with one last question. What do you think some top skills that have emerged during pandemic and are still trending with employers? Because I kept giving you some hints throughout the presentation. I was actually naming those skills. So I want to see if you know what I'm talking about, or maybe some other skills that you can think about that emerged during pandemic. Adaptability, flexibility. Leadership, that's a good one. What else? Cloud technology, absolutely. Knowing how to use Zoom, how to use OneDrive, how to use shared documents and work with your team on one document while being like in different parts of the country, for sure. Communications, patience. Oh yes, absolutely. Being on Zoom all day, you need a lot of patience. Cool. You can continue sending in your responses. It's gonna gather into this cloud. But you're absolutely right. You basically hit almost every single point. This is information from article, again, by Forbes. Some top skills that employers are looking for during and after the pandemic. So still trendy. Adaptability, flexibility. So you all hit that, that skill. Communication, organization, entrepreneurial, creativity, teamwork, leadership. Somebody also said leadership. Critical thinking, problem solving. All these skills are very important, and you have to make sure that you're not only putting it on a resume, but you're also demonstrating it on your interview. You're also demonstrating it through networking with people. If you are networking with them, if you are reaching out to people, that's how you show these skills in action. And I would like to finish with a quote. It's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others, which basically sums it up very well. You shouldn't be alone in your job search. You can always create the connection of like-minded individuals and rely on them in terms of information, in terms of expertise. So you're more prepared for your job search, and you also create those opportunities for yourself. I'm sure some of you might have some questions. So we do coaching on this topic, both myself and my colleagues. You can reach out to us on careerservices@yorkville.ca or careerservices@torontofilmschool.ca. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this workshop, all of our resources and all of our webinars are now posted on a career portal. My colleague will put it in the chat as well. So if you're not quite ready for the coaching, you can always check our career portal, and you're going to find a lot of great resources and all of the webinars that we run before as well. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, thanks so much, Natalia, for a fantastic and very thorough job of covering this topic. I think that a lot of people have hesitation around this notion of networking. People have an idea that it's, you know, it takes place in a networking event and we have to be very artificial and meet as many people as possible and so on. And although that's one way to do networking, it's not just about networking. It's about essentially building relationships human to
Absolutely.
human. And that's something that we are born with the skill to do. And we do it throughout our lives. So for example, if you move to a new city and you have to find a dentist, if you're doing a renovation and you have to find a general contractor, then it's just by actually connecting with other people that you turn up these kinds of resources. And in my experience, having worked with, like 1,200 job seekers in my career, and most recently students, when people do take the risk, because it feels like that at first, to reach out to a new person, and they end up having what essentially is a coffee chat or a conversation with a really interesting person, they report back to me that they feel really inspired. That they feel energized and full of hope, as opposed to sitting in front of a screen all day looking for jobs and getting very little feedback and wondering what's wrong with you. So it can take you out of that kind of downward spiral that happens when you spend all your time job searching online, and it can produce results. You can get a more interesting job, you can get a job more quickly, and you can meet some fascinating people. So thank you so much. If you have questions for us, please feel free to reach out to us. I don't know if one of you put that contact information. Now you can reach out by email in the chat, but please don't hesitate. We're here for you. That's why Career Services exists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Our next webinar is 3 weeks from now, and it's going to be hosted by Alexi. Alexi, what is the topic of your webinar? Finding.
Yes, so it's learning about careers in your field, scheduled on November 18th. And I post the link into chat if you want to come join us for that webinar. But it's about the hidden labor job market and how to access those jobs that are just not advertised. For it, so we'll be going into a little bit more depth into the labor market and a little bit more into the networking side of how to actually get into that market and actually see some of those jobs that are unadvertised. Because if you're just relying on job postings as your sole form of job search, understand that the success rate for that is very low, and there is a wealth of opportunities that are just not posted in that way. But so I'll be covering topics like that, and if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to join our webinar and let others know as well, and we'll be happy to kind of cover that subject as well. Natalia, thank you for the presentation. That has been wonderful as well.
Thank you guys for supporting me. And it's almost 1 o'clock. We don't have any questions for now. So I think we're gonna finish here. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and thank you for joining us.